Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing fantastic. We're continuing our reading of this very interesting book, Hamza Yusuf's commentary on Imam al-Malud's Matharat al Qulub. It has been very interesting. So we are in a new section on page 69 titled False Hopes, dealing with poems verses 117 through 120. Let's begin. It's quick acting poison is extended false hope, which is assuring yourself that death is a long way off. This generates hard-heartedness and indolence regarding obligations, which leads to inroads into the prohibited. So think about that. If you think your death is far away, you think you got plenty of time to go down a more fun path that allows you to indulge. Regarding the one who is engaged in preparing for tomorrow or writing works of knowledge, extended hope is not blameworthy. As for foreboding its origin, it is ignorance of the fact that the entire affair of this life is God's alone. Okay, that's interesting. And Habaneros here, you wanna say hi?
Hello.
Alright, so hard-heartedness coming from the fact that you think death is a long way off, and death being a long way off is an extended false hope because no one knows when they're going to die. Okay, now we're in the discussion part. Imam Maulud speaks next of quick-acting poison that produces an inordinate attachment to worldly concerns, which is a cause of so many diseases of the heart. Okay, so inordinate attachments to the worldly life. Quick-acting poison. This poison is extended hope, tatwil al-amal, assuring oneself that death is a long way off. A mental environment that leads people to their daily lives as though a long life is guaranteed. Long life isn't guaranteed to anyone. The flip side of that is those who live only for the day, never plan for the future. And then this is the inverse of that, where you think you're owed the future and therefore you can delay, right? The dangers of this delusion are self-evident. But before speaking about the perils inherent in this malady, it must be said that, in some ways, extended hope is a necessary human condition. Yes, but you want to have hope in Allah, that you'll have reprieve, tomorrow will be a better day, but you don't want that to lead you down a road that is prohibited. Interesting, yes. Scholars have said that if people did not have hope, no one would have ever bothered planting a single tree. Hey, that's a good point. Because you're hoping they can give you fruit and shade later, right? Or some nuts. If one was sure that he was going to die very soon, he would not have planted an orchard or had children. There would be no infrastructure for the next generation. Fair point, right? However, because human beings do have aspirations, they sow orchards and the like. A famous Persian story speaks of Shah, who passed by an old man planting an olive tree, which takes decades to produce good fruit. The Shah asked, "Do you believe this tree will be of any benefit to you, old man? You will die before it bears fruit." The old man replied, "Those before me planted and we benefited. We should plant so that others after us might benefit." Alhamdulillah, that's beautiful. The Shah was so impressed with the old man's concern for the future generations that he rewarded the old man with money. The old man then said to the Shah, "You see, the tree has brought me benefit already." That's a cool story. Oh, I love wee stories like that. The Shah smiled and rewarded him again. There is a similar Arab proverb that states, "Before us they planted, and now we eat what they have planted." we too must plant so that those after us will likewise eat. Man, this is important, especially now in an age where there's a lot of just live in the now. Pollution is a big problem we're going to have to need to fix. And inflation of currency. Extended hope definitely has its place. In fact, it is a mercy from God that we are capable of it. Otherwise, no one would embark on a course of education, for example, or undertake any endeavor that requires years before completion. Taking it a step further, one of the problems of modern society and the apocalyptic nature of the age we live in is that people are beginning to lose hope in the future. I mean, that makes sense because a lot of people have the doomsday of, like, the climate alarmists. Like, oh, we're all going to die in 12 years, they say. It's like, okay, pollution is a problem, but you don't got to go that far. You know, like, come on, we can work this out. This is especially true among our youth, many of whom are becoming nihilistic. Oh, well, because they can't have... So in America, a lot of people lose hope in the future because they're in debt. They're heavy student debt. Can't afford health insurance. The housing market is a disaster. I mean, especially if you live in California. I mean, your chances of being a homeowner getting pretty slim there. So I can totally see how you become nihilistic. And you walk past homelessness every day. I mean, it's pretty grim. Taking a morbid perspective on the world. We live in a fast food culture in which we are led to believe that we need to have everything now. Yeah, we are... I like how he says the fast food culture, because it is like, quick, 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 quick. Everybody wants money right away. The patience is very lacking, right? It is a culture that causes people to lose a sense of future worth waiting for. So a future worth waiting for. Only recently have we seen the first generation in American history that in many ways will be materially worse off than their parents. I mean, in terms of a house, you know, they have a lot of different ways to earn money, a lot of things to invest in, a lot of tools to make it easier to invest, faster air travel, more open markets, but the taxes and such and the pollution problems can be an issue. Prior to this age, Americans were noted for their cheery optimism about the future. True, but then again, we weren't engaged in so many regime change wars. The extended hope that Imam Mawalu calls a poison is akin to false hope that generates hard-heartedness and indolence due to heedlessness of the hereafter. Okay, so heedlessness of the hereafter due to having this false hope that makes you think you're going to have this long life and that you'll have plenty of time to earn the hereafter. When one believes that he or she will live for a long time, what ensues is a diminution of pondering one's mortality. So you won't reflect as much because you'll think, hey, I got time. As well as a sense of independence from God. Ooh, that's interesting. So you will delay thinking of the hereafter, not reflect as much, pay attention more to worldly affairs, and focus less on God and your status in the hereafter. Fudayl ibn Iyad, a great early scholar and a man of asceticism, said that the world is divided into two types of people: felicitous, Sa'id, and wretched, Shaqi. So the felicity ones and the wretched. The happy and the really just unhappy. No third category exists. Aristotle, an icon of Western civilizations, wrote in his Ethics that the goal in life is leisure and happiness, a notion reflected in the Declaration of Independence, which states that people have inalienable rights from God, and among them are life and liberty, which are enshrined in Islam's sacred law as well. Thomas Jefferson added to this the pursuit of happiness, which implies leisure. I mean, yes, so Aristotle, because in that time, of course, people are not going to think that the point is to always be miserable, right? Of course, it's not always to be miserable. That's not, you can have either or, but humans do enjoy being happy. However, I'm sure Aristotle didn't mean you become this sloth, self-indulgent pig who's gluttonous and pompous, right? Just to clarify, right? And the Declaration of Independence, having the opportunity to be free from an abusive, tyrannical government to pursue what it was you wanted in the free market, to determine your destiny, right? What was originally meant by leisure was time to study and meditate on life and pursue true happiness. For most today, however, happiness is pursued through the acquisition and enjoyment of material goods. Well, yeah, a lot of people think it is the consumeristic angle, right? But I would argue that because the marketing teams in our country have made it that way, they have made us think that the capitalistic consumerist society based upon spending and shopping addictions and such, and hoarding is the way in which you will find gratification in life, right? Which is not sustainable, and also most of that stuff ends up in landfills and produces the debt economy, so which breeds interest. So it's not just about that. The believer, on the other hand, finds happiness in genuine worship, a connection with otherworldliness. So a Muslim knows, okay, we're going to worship Allah, take joy in that, and then contemplate on the hereafter, right? The human being is a creature that cannot pursue two things simultaneously, especially when they are on opposite poles of the universe. Okay, so let's see what he means by two things simultaneously. Islam connects the definition and understanding of happiness with what is permanent and real. According to most religious traditions, true happiness is happiness derived from one's relationship with God. Okay, so true happiness coming from the relationship you have with God. And seeking happiness in the hereafter. Okay, so doing acts of charity, fulfilling the covenants that Allah has placed upon us, and not just thinking that it's all about material gains and the acquisition of those items, right? Because in Islam, the dunya is temporary. Make sure you're being steadfast in your religion. This includes living a life that prepares one for this destiny. Yes, so living your life in a way that earns you these, and being content with earning that, right? Striving towards that. Perfecting your religion, right? If one is happy in the next world, this is the greatest possible achievement, regardless of one's material accomplishments in this life. Okay, so you can have some type of sense of accomplishment of what you've done in the dunya, but do not sacrifice the dunya for the akhirah, right, for the hereafter. Devotion to God includes the enjoyment of God's blessings, such as family, friends, and recreation. So you can enjoy it, but know that neither your children or anyone else can make you earn the hereafter just by themselves, right? Each person will get in by their own merits and deeds. And it's a worldly enjoyment anyways, with to be honored with it all, with great children and great friends. But it is not the sole purpose and sole legacy that you will leave. Very, very interesting. What do you think, fam? I like the Arab proverb about planting and then for the future, and then the Shah saying, look, the tree has already brought me a benefit. That's funny.